serve more to your front door. Better turn up the lights and pray some more. We're gonna party through the night until the dawn. Then you and I are gonna get it on. Left in the hood, come to do no good. Left in the hood, come to do no good.
You knew we had to do it again.
This is the Blood and Black Rum Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from ColdSploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
We're doing well. We're working on our St. Patrick's Day episode.
Top of the morning to ya.
Oh, okay. Whoa, pulling that out early, huh? We didn't do a St. Patrick's Day episode last year, because that was right in the middle of the plague when people actually kind of cared about it, you know. They were
It's over now.
a little bit concerned that it was happening. Now it's still happening, but people are just like, I don't know. It's fine.
Listen, I want Joe Biden to go out onto a fucking aircraft carrier and drop down the mission accomplished banner for COVID. Be like, we got it. You know, just like when Bush said mission accomplished in 2004 in Iraq, and we were still there for another 15 years.
We did it. We beat it. But yeah, we didn't do a St. Patrick's Day episode last time. And if you remember a couple years ago, we did do Leprechaun 5, which was Leprechaun in the Hood, which if you can go back and listen to that episode if you really choose to, but we didn't have a whole lot to say about it except that it's not a good movie at all.
I think we didn't have much to say after Leprechaun 4.
Yeah, really, I think we really ran out of stuff to say about the franchise as a whole. But yeah, we covered Leprechaun in the Hood, and that at that point, you know, we were basically running out of steam on this franchise. But we came back. We took a year off. We came back, and we're going to talk about Leprechaun Back to the Hood today, which I think I should start out by saying the movie had a really weird production, okay? Lionsgate purchased the franchise.
Why? No one knows.
Right, exactly. Because they want, so Lionsgate actually has had a lot of shitty franchises. It's just something that they tend to do. They're a big company, so they have good stuff, they have bad stuff. Doesn't really faze them because it all evens out in the end. But for some reason, Lionsgate wanted to release a new Leprechaun movie because they had the rights to the franchise. And so they obviously were going to use Warwick Davis again because he is basically a leprechaun. And they recruited a director to make the film. And they recognized that Leprechaun in the Hood did not do well. In fact, it did very poorly. In fact, it released DTV, which is pretty much how all of the Leprechaun 2 through 4 released, and it still didn't do well. And at that time, you know, if you're releasing DTV, a lot of your views are going to come from people shopping the video stores and looking to rent these movies because they're, you know, stupid and fun and pop out on the rack, right? So Lionsgate recognized that Leprechaun in the Hood didn't do well, and that was prior to us giving it a poor review. But now, obviously, Lionsgate would be referring back to Blood and Black Rum Podcast. They'd say,
I was gonna say, yeah. I thought we were the ones that put the nail in the Leprechaun franchise.
Now they would refer back to us and say, "Oh, those guys didn't like it. Okay, nix that." We're the definitive say on the franchise. But at that time, they were, basically looking at sales, and they said, okay, well, that one didn't do well. We're going to make a new Leprechaun movie, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to put it in the hood again. And the idea that they knew that the first one did not go over well, and they decided, why don't we just try it again, makes absolutely no sense to me. Like
they thought they could do it better. Like, listen,
I guess
we got it all wrong last time.
Yeah,
we can do this better.
So they said to the director of Leprechaun in the Hood, hey, we want to do another movie in the hood. And he was like, no, I don't want to do that. We just did it. And so he said he had an idea for it to be set on like an island instead. Leprechaun goes to an island and does this thing on an island. And Lionsgate vetoed that. They said, no, we don't want that. We want it to be in the hood again. So they got rid of the first director and they got a new guy, Steve. I'm going to butcher his last name. I don't really know how to say it. Steve Aram Louis, I think is how you say it. Stephen Aram Louis. And they said, Steven, will you make this movie in the hood? And he said, yeah, I'll make that happen. So they had
I got rent to pay.
Yeah. So they had Stephen Aram Louis write and direct this movie, set in the hood, with a full cast of black characters and a fairly prominent, black neighborhood. And they had this random white guy write this movie. It's set in the hood. I just feel like the whole thing, I honestly do not know what was going through production's head when they went through this whole scenario of like, let's make a movie based on a movie that didn't really do very well. We'll get rid of the old guy. We'll get a new guy. And that guy is not going to be black, who can probably write this movie way better than some random white guy who, had never stepped foot in a hood. So that's the story of the Leprechaun 6 production.
All that you wanted to know. Yeah. And then some.
And right there, that should probably tell you. Because whenever you have production getting involved, I mean, let's be honest, Leprechaun as a franchise has never been that successful with producing actually good movies.
Probably, I was gonna say, what do you mean it's not successful? It has like 8 fucking films. It's successful.
Yeah. I didn't mean successful in the normal sense of, we just pumping movies out, but successful in the sense that most of the movies that have been part of the franchise are just not that good. With the sole exception of Leprechaun 3, and that's only because it has what's his name in it? From Mad TV. Or is that Leprechaun 2?
That's Leprechaun 2 with Michael McDonald.
Sorry, yeah, Michael McDonald, yeah.
In his 4-minute part.
Yeah. So Leprechaun 2 is really the one that has the most going for it. I would argue if you even go back and listen to our episode on the first Leprechaun, that we're not even really big fans of that movie because it doesn't really have that much going for it except for a very early Jennifer Aniston starring role. But that movie itself it smacks of like being direct to video type of movie, almost like a trauma movie or a very limited ability to craft a good horror movie. So obviously, the franchise has just devolved as it went along. And then you get to space in Leprechaun 4. And where do you go from there? Because space is where you go when you got nothing left. Space in a horror movie is like, I don't know, we tried everything else. Let's just put them in space and futuristic and let's see what happens. Jason did it. Leprechaun did it. It's where you go when you've got nothing left.
Leprechaun did it before Jason.
Yeah. And
that says a lot.
Yeah, right. But then after that, they decided, you know what? Let's throw them in the hood. See what happens there. So we were not thrilled with Leprechaun in the hood. So I was definitely not excited to go back to the hood. I don't know about you, where you were. I know you. I'm pretty sure you were not excited either to to be spending time back in the hood with Leprechaun. And really, the sole reason why we even give this any shrift at all is because of Warwick Davis. Because you've got to give him the support.
No, you don't. He made his money off of Star Wars and Idiot Abroad.
He's just doing it for the fun of it now and Back to the Hood. That poor man. He finds this fun.
He's got rent. I don't know. I don't know.
He has to pay for the plane tickets for.
Because if I were, because if I was him, I'd be fucking shouting on set, like the one-liners that he gets in most of these films. There's
especially in this one. In this one, he gets. I feel bad sometimes in this movie.
They don't want to say.
I mean,
what the fuck's that supposed to mean?
I don't think anything in this movie is necessarily as bad as in Leprechaun in the Hood with the Lep in the Hood little theme ditty that he does, which I think we played to its death in the last episode that we did on Leprechaun in the Hood. Do you remember that?
I do. No.
Lep in the Hood. Lep in the Hood come to do no good. Lep in the Hood come to do no good. That's, I don't know. I always remember that theme that he does in there.
Oh my god.
I don't think anything is as bad as that from Leprechaun in the Hood. But certainly Leprechaun Back to the Hood does not do him any favors in this movie.
How does one jump the shark if the franchise is premised on jumping the shark?
That's a good question. That's one that we can discuss in this episode too, because I think a very valid point for the Leprechaun movies is, what can you possibly do differently? And I think that's where we'll leave it. We'll talk about the view that we have on the show until we get back into the movie itself. But that's a question that I'll leave open to you to think about as we ponder the wrongs of Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
I almost want to traipse these mid 2000s Fangoria forums, and who's the asshole who's yeah, I really appreciate these films.
I'm sure there are some.
I know there are some, because again, there's 8 goddamn films. I'm just curious, who are the people who are yeah, you know what, it's pretty charming. It's not the greatest, but it's got
I
heart.
think sometimes it was production, literally, and we've seen it, and this has happened before too, where the franchise is pretty much run the well dry, and then production is well, this franchise, the rights to this are just sitting here. We paid for these. We paid $4 whole for these. Why are we doing something with them? That's happened with Hellraiser. It happened with Wishmaster, where they had the rights and no one stopped them. Because at the pitch meetings, some boomer had a terrible idea, and everyone else was too scared to speak up about it because they wanted to keep their jobs. They're no, you know what? Setting this one in space, setting that one in the hood, it's a great idea. It's great.
I was always wondering how Hellraiser got to 8 movies.
Yeah, that's exactly why. And actually, one of the movies in the series, I think it's 4 or 5, really has almost nothing. It was actually not a Hellraiser movie. It was a different movie, and they were that'll work for Hellraiser because we have the rights to that. Slap that name on there and put Pinhead in there for 2 minutes. And that's what they did. Literally, that's what they did. It's not even a Hellraiser movie. I think there's 2 in the series where they bought the script and then just modified it to be a Hellraiser movie. It's been a couple of years since I actually rewatched the whole series in sequence for a Hellraiser nudity post that we did on Coldsploitation. Gotta find that nudity. But yeah, they literally have done that before. So I don't know. Honestly don't know if in some of these cases the fans were clamoring for it. It was more so production was we have the rights to this. Why aren't we not making a movie about it? Because it already has that fan base. We don't have to go for the original stuff. We don't need to sell it to anybody. They know the name. They know Leprechaun. Make a new movie.
Never seen a Hellraiser before.
You've never seen any of the Hellraisers before?
No.
Oh my god. We got to rectify that for the show. I mean, we'll at least have to do 1 and 2. At least. And then,
apparently there's a new one coming out in 2022 on Hulu.
yeah. We got to at least do 1 and 2.
No, because you know how this podcast works. If we do 1, 2, then we have to do all
of
everyone.
Well, the rest of them won't be fun, but we could do them. It'd be a Leprechaun affair. All right,
when's Hellraiser take place? Like June 9th? That way, you know.
Yeah,
tie together.
I don't know. It would be maybe a Valentine's Day episode because it originally was titled "The Hellbound Heart," the Clive Barker story, and it's a little bit of romance in there, in a BDSM sort of way.
Ooh,
yeah. When's BDSM month? Do we have one of those? National Flagellate Your Spouse Month, something like that. All right, you take away the beer talk because you've got things to do and to discuss on this.
So we have another Fidens beer this week. We're just being ultra fancy, ultra bourgeois. But this time instead of a IPA, we have. Well, I shouldn't say IPA because I don't even think Fidens makes standard IPAs. They're all at least doubles or triples. And now dry hopped, double dry hopped. But we have a stout this time. It's a imperial stout, and one that is incredibly good. And I just got to say, I have a very touching apology to give to our Fidens mule because I hurt his feelings. So he went and got these. Our Fidens mule went and got these beers for us. And he charged me $10 for them, a can. It's a little exorbitant. Inflation's a thing, bro. But I was fine with it because it's Fidens. It's very good. And after I got the beer and I bought it, I saw that he posted a picture of him at Fidens, and the sign said $9 and change. And I was a little irate that he upcharged me like that because he's not claiming tax on that or anything. He shouldn't be doing that. He should just be charging me what they're worth.
Maybe he can claim an office on taxes.
Yeah, well, he's not. Same thing with the deposit. But that's besides the point.
You're getting the deposit, though.
Because, that's besides the point. I was wrong to attack him like that because this is a damn good beer. A great beer, I would say. Like all Fidens beer. But it has that special Fidens touch. And before we got into the review, I just wanted to apologize to one of our Fidens mules for me attacking him on upcharging us. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. But
this apology is truly just so that he'll continue to be a Fidens mule.
Yeah, because I'm not going out there.
At least not for me, because I didn't complain about the price. I just gave $10.
That's not true. That's not true.
Oh, I complained about it to you, saying, Fidens is charging a lot for this beer.
Listen, don't lie like that.
I didn't complain about Chad charging us $10, because I get it. Gas is fucking $12.50 a gallon now, so I get it. It's expensive.
Don't lie like that. You bitched. You moaned a little. You moaned a little bit like, I can't be doing that anymore. Spending $10 on a can of beer.
Well, that's true. I like I said, I will vouch for you. I did ask you before the show, would you spend $10 on this beer again? And you said yes. So I will vouch for you in that you accept the charges. You're like taking a collect call. Yes, I will accept the charges. But I do not, and I would not pay $10 again for the beer. But I do appreciate Chad's hard work and dedication in muling this up his ass.
So, what is this Fidens stout that I just profusely apologize for? Well, it's an imperial stout, but it's a s'more stout, and it is incredibly delightful. All the things you would expect from a s'more stout: the graham cracker, the marshmallow, the cocoa nibs, little coffee notes,
Nibs.
little oaty. It's all there, and it's great. And it's all pronounced. You get like as I'm going to take a sip of it now. Getting that very long mustache I have now. It's incredibly like dark. The chocolatiness is definitely like a dark chocolate, which is great. It has a nice graham cracker taste, nice pillowy marshmallow taste. It's all like layered in together like you're biting into a s'mores. It works incredibly well. And it's well balanced in the flavors that it's trying to convey. However, that being said, this would be like a 5 out of 5 beer for me on Untapped. A rarity. It would be. But it's only like a 4 1/4 because it's an imperial stout. And it's a high one at that. It's 12%. It has a alcohol resiny taste at the end that if you listen to the podcast, you'll know. More so me than Ryan, I do not care for it with my beers at all. Mm-hmm. It's why I drink beer more than I drink like whiskeys. I don't want to have it like that rubbing alcohol taste at the end. And I get it because again, it's with it being such a high ABV beer, I understand. And it's one of the reasons though why like a lot of imperial stouts that are good don't end up being as good as they should be because there's too much of that alcohol in the back end that you can't really do too much with. It is masked enough to where it's not a big issue, but I mean, again, if you knock this down to like an 8%, it would be like a winner. So, but it's still great. I still like it. I would still buy a couple cans of this again because it is an imperial stout with such a high ABV. You can, quote unquote, cellar it and sit on it forever and then drink it, when you feel like it. Mm-hmm. So I like this a lot and I would definitely get it again.
I like it a lot as well. I do also agree that the alcohol taste towards the end of it is a little bit heavy. It is a very heavy beer at itself though, 12%. But at the same time, I don't necessarily appreciate the full alcohol flavor that it gives off at the end. With that said, I think that the marshmallow and the graham cracker really come through very prominently at the beginning of the taste. It has a great smell to it as well.
Yes, it does.
The smell itself just gives off like that s'mores smell to it. I would also describe this beer as coffee-ish. I think that comes through from like the molassesy taste of like the graham cracker. It gives it sort of like a coffee-ish layer to it. Umami, if you will.
Ooh. You remember, you gotta fit that one word in that you texted me the other day.
Yeah,
last week I did.
I can't even remember what it was at this point.
It was like soup on or something. I don't know.
But I think that it comes through with a coffee-ish flavor. I don't really necessarily taste a whole lot of coffee, which is on the label, but I do think that it does come through a little bit. But as a s'mores beer, I think this is really good. I've had a couple s'mores beers before. This is on the higher end of that. Another really good one that I've tried before that has a significantly different taste to it is Beer Trees. Beer Tree has a campfire s'mores beer as well, and they have two. They are definitely not the same. Like they don't taste even remotely close to each other, despite having the common ingredients of s'mores. This one is a lot heavier. Has a really great mouthfeel to it, and it pours out like motor oil.
Yes, it does.
But ultimately, I think this is a really good beer from Fidens that is different from stuff that I've had from them before because I've almost entirely had like double IPAs from them. So this is a nice experiment. Like I said, I probably wouldn't spend the full price on it as I have this time for another one, but I think it's a really solid brew, and if you can get it, which is it's super limited, you should check it out.
They do stouts. We just haven't had them.
Yeah, they do a few stouts. It's just not like their big thing.
It's not my bag, man.
Yeah, their big thing is IPA. All right, so with that said, with that apology in offer here, and we don't do apologies very often on this show.
Why would we?
Say that right now.
We're always right.
We don't have anything to apologize for besides that one thing. Let's go on to Leprechaun 6. Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
With a 2.
Yep, with a 2 and with THA, the Hood. Which I don't think was a part of the Leprechaun in the Hood. I don't think they did a did they? I think it was a straight up the.
No, it was just article. Leprechaun. It was just Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I want to. So let's start out by talking about the opening of the movie because it's extremely odd in the scheme of things. Tonally, completely different than what we get later on in the movie. It has like a little storybook fairy tale opening of like a cartoon drawing of little leprechauns in the woods and tries to tell the story of the leprechauns prior to humanity and mortals. What'd you think about that?
Yeah. So they spent their budget on that animation.
I kind of think it's interesting too that it starts out with that animation. And, like, we really haven't gotten anything like that before in prior movies. And it literally opens to chapter 6 in the book. And it's like, so after 5 chapters, you felt now was the time to really emphasize the leprechaun's plight? like, why wait till now?
They're doing their Army of Darkness, bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found that interesting. Like, why are we waiting till now to get into this? But alas, it's there. It doesn't really offer anything contextually for the Leprechaun movies. It doesn't. I don't know. It feels like kind of worthless in the scheme of things. It doesn't even really usher in this movie to explain exactly what's the reasoning behind this movie. The opening scene after that cartoon does and gives us a little bit of a context as to what's going on and why Leprechaun's treasure is now located in the hood here. One other thing that I really think is funny about this movie at the start is that it makes no reference to the other Leprechaun in the Hood movie. Like, none. No attempt at tie-in, no referencing the previous characters, nothing. It's just like this movie forgot entirely that Leprechaun was also in the Hood last time.
Well, because it's assuming that, like we did, you're going to forget about that.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, you know what? Did that movie even happen? I don't remember it.
I don't recall.
Which I agree. Besides a few choice instances in that movie, I also do not remember Leprechaun in the Hood very well, and I've seen it twice.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. Apology accepted. I watched it once long ago for some reason, and then I watched it for the podcast again. Yeah. Certainly do not need to see it twice.
I will say one thing that I remember about Leprechaun Back to the Hood, before ever seeing it, is I remember it prominently from being... and I think I've said it before when we talked about like going to the video store as kids. Well, I remember prominently seeing it on the VHS shelves on the horror section. Mm-hmm. That box art, with Leprechaun Back to the Hood. And you're like, oh, what's that all about? I never picked it up, obviously, but, it was there. It always intrigued me. That ice cream, man.
So... I would say that I would describe Leprechaun Back to the Hood right from the start as a cross between Friday, Half-Baked, a slasher movie,
I am so... I will... I will not let you
slander Friday like that.
Not at all. Friday is a fantastic film. So is Next Friday.
Well, this is like this movie is like trying to get to that point, but failing.
Is it? It's like more. It's like Malibu's Most Wanted and
Kind of, yeah.
in like a bad Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, doesn't that go hand in hand? Tyler Perry movie bad? Don't they just? Isn't that just stating the obvious?
Or like Martin Lawrence's output during this time, like Blue Streak or Knights, Black Knight.
Yeah, it is kind of like a step down, even a step down from those movies. But
listen, like I said, I won't let you slander Friday like that. But if you want to slander, Black Knight, go for it, bud. Because Martin Lawrence, Martin's a funny show. Martin Lawrence films, And
I will also say, too, that this movie, I want to put this out there. I actually don't think that the cast is doing that poorly, either. I think they're putting in some work, and I just honestly feel a little bit bad that they're relegated to this sort of movie, because I think that they could do a little bit better. I was actually impressed because a lot of times you watch one of these movies and like the acting is just so shitty poor. But I really didn't feel that way about this movie. And I thought Sherry Jackson, who plays Lisa, I thought she did actually a pretty good job there. She has like this one little heartfelt moment after her car breaks down where she's kind of breaks down and says, why does our life have to be like this? And I was like, wow, that hit me hard, man. And then that was it. That's honestly, I will say too, I feel like this movie is a lot better in like the first half hour before Leprechaun even gets there. Like if this movie had nothing to do with Leprechaun whatsoever and it was more like a hood-based movie about the struggles and tribulations of people living in the hood, I think it probably would have been an okay movie. I would have been a lot more okay with it, except 30 minutes later, Warwick Davis rises from the grave, comes out in a completely different dress than he wears in other Leprechaun movies. So for some reason, along the way, between Leprechaun 5 and 6, he decided, I'm going to have a wardrobe change. And continues...
Say, they got that Lionsgate money now.
Yeah, he starts to wreak havoc in the hood here. And I will say that I really do think that this movie would have been better if it had just completely skipped over the Leprechaun element to it and really gone for more of a dramatic approach to like living in the hood, dealing with drugs, and that, even then it's sort of like a PSA sort of movie, right? Like look what happens when you start dealing drugs in the hood and stuff like that. But I think it would have been better. I think it would have been a better movie. Once Leprechaun comes in and the coin gets distributed and Emily and Lisa and Rory and the other guy, Jamie. Once they get the money, then it kind of goes to hell, and it doesn't really go anywhere. And I think that's where we get into the issue about Leprechaun as a franchise, because this really stuck out to me. And I recognize that it is also very hypocritical, but I feel like Leprechaun as a franchise has nowhere to go because it has an extremely limited scope. Literally every movie in the franchise, all 6, have the exact same premise, just a different setting. Leprechaun loses his gold because something happened to him. People find it. They go hog wild with the money. And then Leprechaun comes to collect. That is literally the summation of every single movie. Sometimes it happens in space. Sometimes it happens in Vegas. Sometimes it happens in the hood. But every single time is the exact same movie. And like I said, I realize that's hypocritical because we can say the same thing about Friday the 13th. Teens go to a cabin. Jason is there. Jason kills teens.
Well, you also get diminishing returns with those sequels,
yeah,
too.
right, exactly. You get diminishing returns with those as well. But I feel like with Leprechaun, 6 movies of that really does not hold water. It is, and we see it here because this movie is pretty much exactly the same as every other Leprechaun movie, except it takes place in the hood. And I don't feel like once they get the money that it has much value as a movie, because there's nothing worthwhile about watching. And I felt like after about 60 minutes of watching this movie, where at that point Leprechaun had killed a few people, he had gotten high, he had murdered a guy with his bong, I was like, all right, I'm out. That's enough for me. If this movie ended right here, I'd be fine with it. 60 minutes, in and out, done. But it goes on for another 30 minutes of just pointless chasing and almost nothing happening. So what do you think about the diminishing returns of the plot of Leprechaun itself? Like, do you think that there is a way to make a Leprechaun movie that doesn't adhere to just that same formula over and over again?
There is, but I'm not interested. I can't be bothered to put that much thought into it.
Mm-hmm.
This film series is so trying, so interminable. It just literally drags forever.
Oh, excuse me. Sneeze.
It's supposed to be witty. It's supposed to be a comedy horror slasher. It's never been witty. The first one's like the wittiest of the bunch, but it's not witty. And by this point, I feel incredibly sorry for Warwick Davis because like the lines he's given, like the one-liners aren't even one-liners; they're just him like saying shit like, "Oh, that's."
And this one,
that happened.
Like he has to say like "ninja please" in this movie because that is the white person stand-in for saying the N-word, which is sort of a joke in itself in this movie.
Did this now? That's the question: is Leprechaun Back to the Hood the originator of Ninja Please? Because if it is,
yeah, I don't know.
Then you know what? Then it's a cultural landstone and belongs in the Smithsonian.
But I think the problem with Leprechaun Back to the Hood is that even its jokes are extremely stale. Like the weed jokes have already been done before. Like the bong stuff is just not funny in this movie. I feel like not a lot of the jokes even land. So to call it a comedy is really a stretch. It's like a cringy horror movie, like it just doesn't land much of what it attempts in terms of comedy. I think probably the best part is when Warwick Davis has to act high, gets into the refrigerator and basically makes a hot box in there. But other than that, like I don't really even feel like the film lands much of its comedy.
No, it's terrible. It's unfunny. Incredibly so.
I also don't really know that the film ever lands on a particular mood or tone. Like, it seems to want to be almost like a drama. Because it, like I said, it has that whole element to it at the beginning of the movie that is like a hood drama. Like it has a cast of characters that are struggling, and it recognizes that this money is going to change their lives, and so it shows the way that can change their lives for the worse. And it wants to have that drama element to it, but then once the horror element comes in with Leprechaun, it really loses both of those things. It just is tonally off, and I don't think that it works very well. With that said, I do think that this movie is better than Leprechaun in the Hood. That movie had a lot of problems with it. Mostly that none of the setup really worked for it very well. It was super goofy. And I think at least this movie has a little bit of setup and character context that works for it. Whereas that movie didn't really even get off to a good start. But it's hard for me to put into words why I like this one a little bit more than Leprechaun in the Hood, because I don't really like either of them in their entirety. But I can say that this one is objectively a little bit better than the first movie. And maybe that's just because of the creative risk that it takes too. It's a little bit more willing to take risks and to explore different territory. I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess maybe it's just personal preference too as to why you might like one over the other.
Like I said, I can't. It's been so long now since I've seen Leprechaun in the Hood. I can't fucking remember a fucking thing about it.
Can you really remember that much about Leprechaun Back to the Hood? You just watched it.
Yeah, I can actually. One thing that really pisses me off about this film is they got Leprechaun's gold, and these assholes just take it around to town and like buy shit with it.
Yeah, that is funny. There's no fence or anything.
There's no fence.
They're just like, this gold piece is worth $2,000. I think I'll just go to the thrift store and buy some clothes with it.
And now all of a sudden, they're going like down Rodeo Drive and fucking in Mulholland and Los Angeles and like doing like a
Shopathon.
Like Shopathon, like it's Clueless or something, like, you know. And all it's missing too is like, we're moving on up, TV, moving on up. You know what too pisses me off? You take that gold and you buy yourself a car so you can get to school. What does she buy? She doesn't buy herself like a 98 like neon, something practical. No, she goes and buys herself a 65 Mustang.
I know. I think that's part of the idea of like, oh, these people, you know, the look how the money has changed them and stuff. And there's even a line like later on, which I don't necessarily agree with, where she, the main girl, Emily goes into work for the last time. She works at like a salon / massage parlor area, and she's gonna go give a massage to a woman that she hates. That's a total bitch to her. And she's like, oh, you're making me do this on my last day? And she's like, you've changed, Emily. You would do anything before. It's like, yeah, no, I have money. I'm not going to take your fucking shit at a shitty ass job where you pay me minimum wage. So I totally agree with her in that regard. But the film is making it seem like, oh, look how much of a bitch Emily is now.
You get your ass back. Yeah. You get your ass back there, massage this bitch's back right now.
I know. I definitely don't agree with that because workers' rights and all that. But I thought it was funny that the film used that as an example of like how Emily's changed so much. Like before, she would have been all up in those roles and, you know, getting at those warts.
Why are you assuming that because she's a bigger lady that she's got warts and such?
No, I'm not assuming. I was saying in general. She would have done that. That's like what her boss is making seem like. She would have done anything, you know, for $7 an hour. But now that you've got money, you're such a bitch.
But yeah, no, that bothered me. That like they fucking find themselves like a treasure chest of doubloons and like, we're rich. It's like, how do you know you're rich? Do you know that's real gold? Do you know like what? You know, and then they just take it to the stores and like go into a gas station, like buying like a 7-Eleven, buying a big gulp and a bag of Doritos, and like that'll be $2.25. It's like, hold on.
All I've got is this large doubloon. Do you take that? Sure. Let me just get $1,800 in cash out for you. Get you your change. Yeah, that is a bit ridiculous. Then I like too how the girl brings it to some guy to just boil down. No problem. I will just boil that right down. Make you a gold tooth.
Like, how does that work? She still got her tooth, like, so she's like, you know.
Yeah, that was really interesting how they shot that too, because it made it look like she's just gonna take her tooth right out right there. She's like yanking on it. She's like, "Oh, hold on one second. Let me just pull this right out. Stick a gold tooth in there. No problem." Yeah. Yeah.
It's so fucking stupid. But not only that too, like what the fuck is it up with like, these type of films and we got the youth center we gotta protect. Oh, we didn't get the money for the youth center. Man, this neighborhood would be so much better if we had that goddamn basketball court for the kids. It's
a community, man. It's a community. Gotta give back.
It's so like cliched and shit. Like it's like a Fat Albert or Scooby Doo episode. Like, oh no, they're coming to shut down the community center.
Yep. Yeah, and so that's like another thing too, like that I was talking about. This film almost feels like it's like a TV movie or like a UPN style TV show.
Wow, it's funny that you say that because that's UPN's where I saw the first 3 films of these.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a UPN movie, and then at the same time, then it has Warwick Davis's Leprechaun here.
Is that why you brought up Moesha?
Well, yeah. I mean, it definitely it does have that feeling of like, the
coming on
black
between
UPN comedies.
Coming on between Moesha and Buffy the Vampire Slayer episodes, we got
Leprechaun back to the hood.
Hold on, I forgot Thursday Night SmackDown from WWE.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I did not enjoy this movie that much. I think it runs way too long. Even at 90 minutes, it's just too long, and it doesn't have that much going on for it. And the kills aren't really that interesting either, which is a sad part about the movie. I think like the most creative kill is like the bong kill. But other than that, it really doesn't have that much going on for it. I do, though, I have to say that I like Leprechaun's makeup in this one. I think they did a pretty good job on that. But other than that, it doesn't have a whole lot going on with it. And like I said, the ending just goes on and on and on. This could easily have been like a Tales from the Crypt episode. It does not need to be a 90-minute movie.
No, I agree. This film is interminable. It just like there's nothing that's really attractive about what happens. Again, like the acting in this film is fine. I mean, like none like every kill in this film is lazy as shit. And, like, absolutely lazy. It's just Leprechaun, like, puts his fist through somebody. And it's like, oh, we killed someone. Like, there's no creativity. Like, at least with, like, the first Leprechaun, there was creativity with his kills. Like, he mixed it up. From using his, like, shoe buckle to...
And they actually had more of an Irish bent to them, too. Like,
yeah.
Like, they adhered to the Irish traditions and things like that. Leprechaun 2 specifically too had a whole Irish element to it. This movie, no, nothing. Like no relation back to Irishness or like the lore of the Leprechaun. Nothing. It literally only has a terribly CGI'd rainbow. That's it.
Oh my god!
Where
and it's so
dances in it for some reason.
Fuck you, just like little pot, like little fucking thing, and then little shitty rainbow. She just runs over and dances, and then they go back to the scene. It's like, wait, what the fuck was going on there?
Yeah, it's hilarious. She just randomly finds a rainbow. You know what? I think I'm gonna go dance in it. It's so weird and stupid.
It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, I agree. All right.
Oh my god.
That's pretty much all I have to say about this movie.
That's not enough. So like what again? Like so like do you think like again like the kills like the main part why you're supposed to be there? What'd you think? Lazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kills are lazy.
I did like the one Kano kill where he rips the guy's heart out. You know,
mostly for the reactions from the cat, like from the guys that they're like, no.
I think the worst one though is when he rips the tooth out of the bitch's mouth, because then after he rips it out, you see her jaw fall down, but it's her bottom jaw, even though the tooth is in her fucking top jaw.
Yeah.
So you see, like they put like the little like like a skeleton bone thing, and have it hit the. It's so fucking stupid. I laughed really hard at that. I laughed incredibly hard at that.
Yeah. I just think the kills are lame. The humor just doesn't work. And again, I don't really feel like this movie is so bad that it's good either. It doesn't hit that level. It's just it's just bad. It's just boring.
We did not mention one of the people. You know who's the black officer in this film?
No, it's really quick, so I don't know who.
It's Bo Billingsley, better known as Jet Black in Cowboy Bebop's dub.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Knew that voice was familiar.
Didn't notice it.
By the way, that whole bit with that like her pumping Emily when they get arrested, and then taking the shotgun and then like pumping away at the leprechaun, the sound effects of that shotgun are fucking terrible.
Yes, I agree.
Incredibly awful. Like I'm just curious to who chose that as like the fucking.
I agree. Yeah. Not great. All right. So, we should probably rate this movie because I honestly don't have much more to say about it.
Jesus. Let's just want this episode over with. There's a lot of deep diving you can have somebody do on this.
A lot of deep diving? Really?
I don't know. Not for us, but somebody
not
could.
Not for us. Somebody else could certainly do it, but not us.
All right. Out of 10, 9mm shells wrapped in 4-leaf clovers, what would you give this film?
I would give it a 4 out of 10. I don't remember what I gave Leprechaun in the Hood, so again, this is all arbitrary. If I gave that a better rating, then I change that. But I would for right now, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It's not a good movie. I did not really enjoy watching it. It's one of those movies where you have to try really hard to keep paying attention to it and not slip away to like just looking at your phone, looking at some stupid meme or something. Because almost anything will, like watching a pressure cooker, will draw your attention away from Leprechaun back to the Hood. I just think that it doesn't have much going on. It's literally the exact same plot as every other Leprechaun movie, and it has really not much to say. I do think that the first like half hour shows some promise, because if it had completely cut the Leprechaun element from it and done more of like a Hood drama, I think it, like this could be like a Spike Lee joint or something like that, and it could have been a better movie.
How dare you?
I'm joking about it being a Spike Lee, but I'm thinking that like if it had gone that route instead, it could have been a better movie. It could have really looked at Hood life, the things that keep people in the Hood down, stuff like that, and it kind of gets at that almost, and then goes like a completely different direction later on with Leprechaun. So, I almost wished it was a different movie. Because I think that the Leprechaun element really doesn't add a whole lot. It doesn't do anything. It continues a very similar approach to the other movies. And as we've seen in those movies, it wasn't successful either. So to do the same thing over and over again, especially in this movie, which basically repeats all of the wrong things that occurred in Leprechaun in the Hood, that didn't work well, and production knew that it didn't do well. I think it's really foolish. And it was a waste of time to continue this movie franchise to do the exact same thing. Now, Had it been set on an island, do I think it would have been better? Probably not. Like, I don't know that I trust the Leprechaun in the Hood director to do a better movie on an island or anywhere, any setting. It doesn't really matter. If space didn't work, then an island's probably not going to. But at the same time, I just feel like doing everything the same as the last movie didn't do this movie any favors. It's a little bit better than Leprechaun in the Hood, so I'll give it that. I think it has a little bit better of a plot. So that's why it's getting a 4, because I think that it does an okay job at the beginning of the film. It's just when Leprechaun comes in that the movie seems to lose all enthusiasm for doing anything besides what has come before.
I'd give it a 4 as well. It's definitely... It's not like the worst made Leprechaun film, but it's also not that memorable. It's not noteworthy. One of the worst things you can say about a film is it just being mediocre, just there. This doesn't fall into it's so bad it's funny like you'd kind of hope it would because of how absurd this premise should be. It's a competently made film. However, the kills are boring as shit. The effects are really miserable. The plot is meandering and stupid. Acting, directing, and all that, it's fine. One of the things that you can tell is, like, especially from this time, that it's like a direct-to-DVD film is the movie maker effects with, like, the fucking wipes, like it's a late series John Carpenter film. Those are incredibly awful. It's just, it doesn't have anything going for it. It's just your run-of-the-mill premise. If you really enjoy this franchise, that's the only thing. The only reason why I'd say you'd see this film is because you're that invested into it. Other than that, there's nothing here. Ryan kind of hoping for it does bring up some points of some social commentary points. But if you want that, guess what? Watch Boys in the Hood. It's much better.
True.
It's a much better film. If you want that kind of critique on that sort of thing, watch Boys in the Hood. It's a much better film and it's a much smarter film. Here it just kind of seems tacked on to kind of try to give our characters depth. And other than that, I'm glad to be done with this franchise because we are not fucking spending time with Origins and the...
Oh, yes, we are.
We're not. No, because you know what? There's other things to do. It's
leaving the show if we do it. If we decide on doing the next Leprechaun.
Because again, I can't remember. I can't even remember Leprechaun in the Hood. And the only thing I remember about Leprechaun in space is it's in space and the main girl's from 2 hometowns away.
Yeah.
That's about it. And she also plays the big boobed weather girl on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those are her 2 acting credits, but there's it astounds me at the things studios will greenlit if it's done cheaply enough. Mm-hmm. It astounds me. Warwick Davis should not have gotten this much run. He's not charismatic. He's not that good of an actor. And they don't give him much better things to do as the franchise goes on. It's astounding to me. This isn't Saw, where you have a intriguing plot line going. It's just we can't be cold. We should be shillelagh. And they don't even have any of that, Irish stereotypes in this fucking thing, And it's gotten worse, less, as you said earlier, more played down as the franchise has gone on. So it's why am I even watching this? So, a 4 out of 10.
All right, so hopefully you enjoyed our St. Patrick's Day celebration, which is super funny to say because Leprechaun has gotten so far away from Ireland and
It's not like he's running around killing people with corned beef and cabbage and being like, drinking Smithix! Woohoo!
I know. It is funny. We do this for St. Patrick's Day, and it really has nothing to do with St. Patrick's Day whatsoever, besides having a leprechaun. But, all right, so what are we doing? What are we doing next week?
Well, Scream is digital.
Yep. I think we can do Scream next week. That'd be.
Is it out on Blu-ray?
It's not out on Blu-ray. It's not out on Blu-ray yet. It is digital only right now. But I would be interested in doing it if you are. Either that, or we also have a few other options that we could do. We had talked about, we haven't done Candyman yet, and that's another one that we do want to do at some point. Also, we got to do an Easter movie too. We got to get that in because, let's see, Easter is coming up in April, so we've got to get that in too. And I don't know what you want to do for that one, but possibly Critters 2 is an Easter movie that I know of that we could potentially do. All right, so for next week, Scream 5 it is.
No, it's Scream.
Just Scream. And then maybe the week after that or something, we'll do an Easter movie.
Passion of the Christ. I can't believe we're finally doing it after all these years.
Hey, I have never seen that movie, so I would probably watch it.
No, you wouldn't. It's like 3 hours long.
You know what? I watch. Well, I shouldn't say I like. I watch. He's really good in Person of Interest, the TV show. Jim Caviezel. Jim Caviezel is a good actor. Okay, let's not say good actor. He can do one part well, which is stoic, like soldier thing. Stoic soldier person. He can do really well.
No, you know what? I have an Easter film for us to do.
What?
It deals with God's resurrection. I mean, Jesus' resurrection.
Okay.
God is not dead.
Oh, man. That would be so annoying to do.
Don't you want to? Come on.
I am curious about the movie. I'm sure it is just fucking awful. But I am curious to see it.
I have not seen it, but I do know. I mean, I know about it quite a bit, and it's got Kevin Sorbo and
yeah, I'm sure it's awful, awful movie.
Last half hour was just Christian rock bands playing.
Yeah, I'm sure it's bad, but I can't say that I'm not a little bit interested in seeing what they did.
It's just got Delirious. I Can Sing of Your Love Forever playing constantly. I can sing of your love forever.
Well, we'll think about the Easter stuff, but
I really want to do God Is Not Dead.
Maybe we will.
Or we can do Jeepers Creepers too.
I just can't imagine myself though alone. After work, being like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch God Is Not Dead.
Would you rather do the new Daily Wire film that they got coming out?
Yeah, I saw that too. I would probably just need a lot. I'm probably going to get high when I watch God Is Not Dead.
You're the reason why people say he's dead.
Because I just cannot imagine sitting down by myself to watch this movie. And
why would you not drag your wife and children through this ride with you?
Yeah, I'm sure she's... Well, the problem is because I end up feeling more alone if I have her there because she just is on her phone. So feels more lonely than watching it by myself.
You take it away from her.
Yeah. All right, Scream.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! And God's Not Dead. The Robertson boys from fucking Duck Dynasty are in it.
Oh.
As just random people. Remember Duck Dynasty?
Yes.
Remember that? Remember people watching rich asshole duck guys? We talked to you about Jesus and meat? You fucking idiots.
Well, then you know what? I have to do it if they're in it.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
How did that ever become a thing?
Don't know.
Yeah. They invented a duck call, and they made the money. And here's your fucking these fucking people. Reality TV's. You know, that's something we should do. Just start going down the fucking Real World. Watch every season of the Real World.
Yeah. All right, so next week we're going to do Scream, and then we'll figure it out from there. Thanks for listening to our St. Patrick's Day episode.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. We're sorry that we didn't have more Irish stuff for you, but maybe you're sitting down to have a nice Reuben.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
Listen to it with a nice Reuben and a Smittix, and then you'll have your St. Patrick's Day all set up for you. But if you want to listen to us more, you can follow us on pretty much any podcasting app you can think of. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, our home base at Anchor.fm, and pretty much anything else. Subscribe to us, leave us a nice review. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. You can just search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast, and like us and follow us and whatever else you can do on Facebook. We're also on, we have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. You can write to us, let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we'll take that in consideration. And also, you can you can donate to us at our Patreon page at patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. Everything that we get there, we're going to put back to beer, so appreciate you fueling our alcoholism. So, on that note, I'm going to sign off on this podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed our episode on Leprechaun Back to the Hood, and we hope to see you back next time for our Scream episode. So until then.
Take care.